if you run a company and you're just not making the money off of your jobs, you don't have the profits that you need, if your return on your capital assets stinks, maybe your equipment investment, your rolling stock, or if you're putting a lot of money in payroll, but you're just not getting the return on your payroll costs, stay with us because we're going to give you a solution. All right, today we want to talk to people that run and operate companies, and they're trying to figure out how to make the operation more profitable. Maybe you have the sales, but your gross profit stinks. Maybe you have a good gross profit, but your operating expenses are so bad that your net profit stinks. Maybe you're borrowing a lot of money and buying a lot of rolling stock, and your rate of return on the rolling stock stinks. What do you do? How do you figure this all out? Well, I've got my business partner, Andy Wolfe, with us today. And Andy Wolfe has built something that is so revolutionary that you've got to pay attention to this because he may have the solution to your profitability problem. Welcome to the show, Andy Wolfe.
It's great to be back, Nabs.
Yeah. Now, listen, I got to know, were you sitting on a couch somewhere at home watching Netflix and all of a sudden you had a eureka moment where you came up with an idea?
No, I'd say it's been more of a culmination of a lot of the work that we've done together over the years and kind of getting inside companies and seeing a consistent pattern of issues and then over time developing a way to use technology to address those issues.
So what was jumping out at you? What was making you scratch your head and you were saying, I have got to try to help figure this out?
When you'd ask, when you would ask an owner questions that seem simple, like if you run a truck, do you know how much you made on that load? If you are selling roofing jobs, are you totally confident that you're making what you think that you're making on those jobs? How's your cash? You're selling a lot of work and doing a lot of work. Do you have any cash? It's just consistent questions that didn't have you'd think you'd have an answer like that, but a lot of times people are like, I don't know, kind of running by gut.
So my thought is the operations people, the CFO, the business owner would be looking at different things and scratching their head and saying, I don't know what's going on here, but our trucking division is just not making the money that it should, right?
Yep.
Or if it's in construction, would it be your cost of goods might be getting out of hand? Would it be the labor time for people to put the stinking roof on?
Yeah.
They'd be kind of looking at that. I mean, what would be the things that they would be sitting there looking at and going, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Are they looking at their P&L? Are they looking at just their line items on their financial statement that just seem out of control? What are some of the symptoms that would jump out at you?
Yeah, well, in a good in a good for us situation, something feels off to the owner. But generally, you hit on the problem is these things they don't just jump out at you. They're not presented somewhere. And maybe you're living in 5 or 6 different systems. So sales is handling one system, your production is occurring in another system, your job management, your accounting and finances are handled in another system, and these don't talk together. So
you could have 5 different technology platforms to support each division.
Yeah, and
right?
you could have Joe Schmo as a customer over here, but over here he's Schmo Joe, and over here he's job number 5875. You just don't know. So you can't get a full picture of what your relationship with Joe Schmo is like until you can start to consolidate everything and view it that way.
Well, one thing I think about too is it would kind of be like if you have these 5 different technologies, it'd be really great if you had green, yellow, and red.
Yep.
And that department's green, that one's yellow, it needs some attention, that is red, and we got a big problem there. But right now, besides what you've built, there's really nothing out there to be able to give you that kind of intel, is there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are companies that take a crack at it, but I can confidently say nobody's as thorough as we are. Yeah.
So you build a technology that is called War Room Technologies, and it's basically a command and control center for business. How do you bring this technology together for a company? What is step one?
Step one is always interviewing the stakeholders, the people involved, trying to get an idea of low-hanging fruit, what's really bugging you. If you had solid answers to this, is this something that would change how you make decisions? Try to get a sense for that so that we know what general direction we're going. And then we just use our experience of understanding in this industry, this is generally where we see issues. And then we start getting into the more technical weeds.
So then what's step two?
Step two would be more of the technical weeds, which is starting to explore what source systems we have to deal with. So by source systems, I'm talking things like your industry job management system, or where are your accounting records held? How are you tracking your sales funnel? Things like that. We start to get a sense of what the overall data picture is.
I mean, so step one is you're in the conference room trying to get inside the head and the heart of everybody that's involved in the business, right?
Yeah.
Step two is you go in and you camp inside the company and begin to try to learn as much as you can about all these different systems, correct?
There is something in between step one and step two. So step 1B would be we do some informed research after we've met with the stakeholders and start to come up with a sense of what we think we'll find and what we think that'll be worth, just based off of our instincts and initial research.
So you can kind of give them an idea that if they turn you loose, you might be able to save them X amount of money?
Yeah, we're getting to the point where I can pretty much confidently say we'll find 1 to 3% of revenue in most companies.
Of revenue?
Yeah.
Not gross profit, not net income, of gross sales.
Yeah.
That could be a big deal.
Yeah, it's been a recurring pattern.
So if a company's doing $5 million in sales, you're saying $500,000.
Yeah.
$10 million in sales, you're talking about $1 million a year in savings.
Yeah, on the smaller end, you'd see a higher percentage, but if you're doing 50 or 100 million, we'd be looking for $1 to $3 million annually in inefficiencies. Yeah.
Well, you can do a lot with $1 million.
Yeah.
All right. So step one is you getting a sense of what's going on. Step two is getting an estimate of what the savings could be. Step three is you're on site, right?
Yep.
And you're digging through everything to try to get an understanding of all of it. Once you've got that understanding, then what's step three?
Generally, we'll start to present an initial, because the overall goal is to have, it's not just a one-time discovery, it's to build a war room for the leadership team. So we use that term meaning where can we go to understand what the heck is happening in every part of our company?
Well, it's kind of like what Trump's probably doing is he's looking at the Iranian war. You know, he's looking on a screen and seeing all these touch points as far as where the assets are.
If anything goes wrong, the plan goes wrong. So if there's a supply chain risk that exists way over here, it could throw off the entire plan, and they need to have visibility into all that stuff.
Yeah, the metrics are probably off the charts. So once you do that, then what's step four?
Then we're usually starting to, we've gotten a sense of what the low-hanging fruit's going to be, and then we're starting to bring back the fixes to the low-hanging fruit to the ownership team generally. Now,
but you kind of create a war room technology for them to be able to see in real time what's going on. What's that look like?
It's extremely customizable. Our design philosophy is follow your curiosity. So we think that you should be able to, here's this sales rep. I should be able to click on this sales rep. What's he up to? And then we should be able to see a view of his jobs, how profitable they are, how quickly we're collecting on them, things like that.
Who's pricing them right? Who's not pricing them right?
Exactly.
So is this technology installed on their computers?
It's an ever-evolving platform that we own and host ourselves, but they have access
to it.
Yep.
So it's basically a cloud-based system that they can access on a regular basis, and that system's being fed by all the different divisions.
At least daily.
Okay, so talk to me about some common things that you've seen that you've been able to make a difference on.
Yeah. This has been common prior to the technology company is just not having a full grasp of jobs. And I use the word jobs loosely. If you're a trucking company, then taking something from point A to point B is a job. And maybe you have really good costing going on, but many times we'll find a bust somewhere, whether it's the pricing of stuff, we're missing something in our cost estimates. That's usually the first place I go sniffing, inside the jobs, and 5 times out of 10 we find a pricing bust. The other 5 times out of 10 we find a cost bust somewhere.
So you were talking on the way here, we were talking about a company that had multiple salespeople, and they were all pricing the jobs different. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean that's how I diagnose these procedural issues, because we didn't know that there were multiple price sheets floating around this company, and it's a large company, and so the sales reps are maybe they just have their price sheet that they like, and maybe it's 10 years old, and we have no way of knowing that they're pricing all their jobs using this. It's uncommon, but when you've got, this is where we come in, when the amount of data flowing in exceeds what you can process just with your gut, that's where we can start to identify these patterns.
You know, one thing I think about is a lot of people, a lot of companies, once they look at they're going to have a tax bill, a lot of times the way they try to get rid of it is they go buy assets to get the write-off.
Yeah.
Right? You can end up having too many assets.
Yeah.
If you've done that.
Many people do.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're not getting the rate of return on your equipment and assets because you bought too much.
Yeah.
Does your system kind of help you figure that out?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite rabbit holes to go down. So oftentimes companies are using some sort of telematics would be the term, some sort of telematics GPS system in their equipment that'll tell you, here's where it is, here's how long it's been running, here's how the driver's driving it. We watch the telematics closely, and that's a view that we have implemented for pretty much everybody, which is asset utilization. So
talk to me about construction companies. You've got a lot of experience of working in construction and construction companies, and there's a lot of very good, successful construction companies out there, but they can have a lot of leakage in their profitability. What are some of the common things you see with construction companies?
Yeah, one that we were just working on the other day is building out a system for a group where we would ingest all the quotes that they get from their supplier, and then we would compare it against the invoices, and the discrepancies were wild.
Really?
It was the exact quote for this job, but it's a huge list. I mean, you could never hire a human to go scrub this list. And
as far as all the materials you're talking about, all the material cost?
So I remember it was one type of joint specifically, and the quote was $2 and something, and the invoice came in at $12 and something for that part.
Oh my gosh.
Now these things aren't like $1 million fines, but it's one of those 100 pennies make a dollar thing where it's like, oh, that's interesting, and now the supplier knows that we're watching this a little more closely.
Well, and how much of it's just plain incompetence on the supplier part? It wouldn't have been a sinister thing.
No, it never is.
Somebody's pushing the wrong number on the keyboard. So I think about with construction, you know, you're managing a ton of subcontractors, and you know, subcontractors can play games with you too.
Yeah.
And they might quote one thing, but it ends up being another thing, and if you don't catch it, it can cost you a lot of money. Talk to me about. I'm sure you get into some of these situations, and you find out that the talent pool of the people in management is not good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What do you do in that situation?
Well,
let's say you got an operations guy that's just way over his head or skis. What do you do?
I mean, generally you like to try to come alongside that person and see if they can get up to speed.
And coach them up.
But otherwise you just present data. Like, here's what's happening. Here's how you compare to your industry benchmarks. It's not good, so what's going on? And just
and you leave it up to the owner to decide whether he wants to make a job change or not.
Yeah.
What would be something that an owner would need to look for to determine whether their CFO is really screwing up or over their skis? Anything come to mind there?
That's a good question. And the most often the most common thing I hear is not something specific, but more something feels off. Like, I should be making more money.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be in this position. The bank shouldn't be asking me these kinds of questions.
That's the owner saying to himself, this does not make sense. We've got the
something doesn't
sales.
add up.
We got the people.
Yeah.
We're turning the work around on time, but I keep getting bad news.
Yes.
And why would the CFO be the reason for the bad news?
That one is one that never ceases to amaze me. It could be 1,000 things. 20% of the time it's incompetence. 20% of the time it's just pure somebody's in over their head. Sometimes it seems like people just want, like, showing an owner a report that has a lot of profits on it, even if it's wrong. Happy talk.
So they want to go in and present happy talk so they look like they're...
Hey, you hired me a year ago, and in my first year working here, we added this much profit. Granted, we're going to have to write it all off next month, but
see how good I am.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing.
Ego.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of ego.
And it's just complicated, like, especially with long-standing projects, WIP accounting, like if you're an owner who deals with WIP, that stuff is complicated, and there's a lot of opportunity for stuff to get hidden in there. And it doesn't come out until the very end of a project, which could be 3 years.
So give me an idea how much time it takes. If a company turns you loose, how long does it take you before you've got this war room technology built and you've tuned everybody up to where they're paying attention to it and it's useful?
Yeah. Usually internally we call it striking pay dirt. Our internal goal is to strike pay dirt within 30 days, which means find something that pays for the platform itself within 30 days. Can't always do that, but inside of 90 days, we almost always do. So that's our internal target, is to have the platform up and mature inside of 90 days. Depends on how complicated the company is.
What percentage of the time, maybe I shouldn't ask you this question, but what percentage of the time do you have to have turnover in management?
That is a good question. It is, I don't know, I'd say maybe 1 out of 6.
1 out of 6?
Yeah.
That's still significant enough, though.
But it's more frequent that somebody is in over their head and they need to be pushed down a level, would be what I would say.
One of the things that really gets to me is where a family-run company sticks a lot of their family members in positions and they're over their skis, but they aren't going anywhere because mom and dad aren't going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Where I get stressed out is when the parents are then talking about transitioning the business to those people, and they're by no means at a position to be able to run and operate the company effectively. So I guess this war room technology, in my mind, if you go in a family-run business, and maybe mom and dad know they've got a kid in a position that's easily replaceable, they might not even be presenting themselves as a professional adult, but they're in that position. If you put this technology together and you land it, two things are going to happen. They're either going to become more aware of who they are and what they're supposed to be doing and where they're failing, and then they up their game.
Yep.
Or it becomes pretty clear that they're way over their skis, probably shouldn't be there, and maybe they need to go to work for somebody else for a while, or go back to school, or do something to get their skills back up. But without doing what you're talking about, it'll be really hard for mom and dad and the management to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. You're never going to convince somebody, absent data, that their own child is underperforming, and that's the neutral stance that I always try to take in those situations. It's like, listen, you can make suboptimal decisions if you want. Just do it eyes wide open. Here's the facts.
Eyes wide open. Maybe you should have called it eyes wide open technology, because that's really what it's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on the program, folks. If you need to have an interview with Andy, do you charge
No.
to go in and meet people and try to get an assessment?
No, we want to make sure that we can help before we ever start.
So you'll gather all the information, analyze it, and then come back and present, hey, this is some areas that I think we can help. If you want our help, then they engage you, and you come on a contract basis on a monthly fee.
Yeah. Generally, there's continuous work to be done, but yeah, we only like to get paid if we are adding more value than our cost. So we need to be sure of that before we would engage with anybody on our
Okay,
side.
how do they find you?
We have the website up, warroomtech.co. You can reach out to us through the Navity channel. Dave and I are partners on that.
Yeah, you can go to navity.com and get us, but you can also go to warroomtech.com.
Yeah, .co, C-O.
.co, C-O.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? Everybody's com.
It's the new thing, man.
So is that a generational deal?
I think it's a generation.
Yeah.
I think.
You can't be as old as me. You got to be as young as you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if we can get both. If you're in Dave's generation, you can go to .com.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for being on the show, folks. If you need some help, let us know. We really do care about doing good work for our clients and providing value. So if you need some help on any of this, just let us know. Thanks so much.